The Ghost Cult Magazine podcast welcomes in the great Jazz Coleman of Killing Joke. How are you doing, sir?
I'm just woken up. I'm good. I've had a horse bath, which is basically a bit of soap under the arms and some antiperspirant, and I'm here now with my coffee, ready to stick the boot in. How are you?
I am fantastic. Welcome back to New York. Great to have you back. Great occasion here for the big Tool tour and opening up at the Barclays Center tonight.
Yeah, with the fluffers.
The fluffers, as you said before. Get the crowd warmed up. Tool audiences are notoriously fickle, and I don't know why that is, because they like to think that they are Tool fans. I'll count myself among the Tool fans, that, we're better than the average music fan, but I've seen them give a rough time to some of the openers. How's it been for you on the tour so far?
Well, I can't remember a single evening where we haven't had a standing ovation so far. Well, I'm touching wood now, because tonight's tonight. We've still got 4 to go. We've been on the road for 7 weeks, and we've had a wonderful reception, to be honest. And of course, it helps when you get people like Maynard saying, buy the band's back catalogue, and you've got to check them out, buy their this, and then from, when he's on stage, they've been so kind. I mean, they're friends of ours, So it's been good. It's been good. We've had a very, very warm reception. That being said, there's been a collective realisation from every member of Killing Joke that we don't really want to do arenas ever again. We don't like this lifestyle. We haven't had any of our guests backstage on the whole tour, because you can't get backstage, and your bags are searched by the police as you're going in. When you get in, it's like the atmosphere of a supermarket, And these big bands, I've got to say, look, we've toured with Guns N' Roses, we've who's that band, Motley Crue even, and now, and of course I've done many gigs with Foo Fighters, and I don't like what it does to bands. That generally speaking, every member of the band has his own camp, his own tour bus, his own people who coordinate with the other band's people. I mean, I've just seen the most ridiculous thing. I've seen situations like how this level of touring where they have 4 tents to either side of the stage, and all the people that work for the different members of the band are with walkie-talkies arguing about the set list, from these fucking tents. I mean, for God's sake, when we were out with Motley Crue that one time, our manager said to the drummer, he said, I manage, Killing Joke, and he goes, the drummer says, I've got 7 of their records. What are those guys doing now? And of course, they didn't even know that we were on tour with them. It's such a horrible way of touring. I never want to be part of this again, not for any money, and the money is good.
Well, that's a plus.
I don't care about money. I didn't go. Listen, if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't have done Killing Joke. The Killing Joke is, for us, it's a sacred and holy mission. I mean, truly, laughing aside, to us it's much deeper than that. And it's a lifestyle, and I truly believe in counterculture. You have to remember, with Killing Joke, that we're from a generation that is convinced that you can not only change lives, but you can change the world through music and the arts, right? So like it's more than just like it's something we do at weekends. It's like a whole lifestyle of a counterculture, an alternative lifestyle of looking at different ways, how we can live a better way of life. And of course, everyone knows work is a stupid idea. I've never had a job in my life, so I can't really empathise with anyone there. But it looks like it sucks.
Indeed.
And then what you have to do in life, let me explain this, the thinking is, the things that give you energy in life, let's just talk about them, systems of energy. How do I get this immeasurable energy that I have, right? I'm like 2 months away from my 60th birthday. I bet I could fucking beat you in a fight. Right? Anyway,
I don't doubt it.
The thing is, I've got immense energy, and this is down to the fact that I never do anything I don't like doing. And you shouldn't either. Because when we do things we love doing, we get energy from them. And when we do things we don't like doing, it sucks the fucking life out of you, right? And that's what doing your will means. You do what you love doing, do your God gift, and only your God gift, and only the things that give you joy and pleasure, and you get energy from them, you see? And it's that simple. So, you know, exchanging the precious hours of your precious life for cash that many people have already spent before they even get it. You know, there are levels of whoredom that are simply unacceptable. And each one of us must work towards a luxurious, rent-free, mortgage-free existence. I did say work-free as well.
Yes, I was prominent, work-free. You know, I think in a very similar way, you know, everybody starts out, you make art for yourself, for your collective group. We all, you know, people relate on a basic level. I like the artists you like, or you like different artists than I like. Let's see what happens when we combine our talents and influences. And then you become part of the system, which is the record industry, not to bash the thing that has given us your music and given us your tours and given us your presence in the world, which we appreciate. But, you know, I think there is sort of a thing. I think the record industry is very having been around music most of my life, I feel like the record industry is very much like a factory. It reminds me of Modern Times and Charlie Chaplin. Like, bands and artists go through the gears of, you know, someone else's machinations to be able to put out their art. It takes a lot to get to share that moment, or those moments, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I mean, you know, everyone knows that since the internet, we've lost over 80% of our income as musicians. So what you're seeing now is you're seeing basically a deregulation of concert prices, which has gone into the astronomical. I mean, frankly, I find it obscene. I find that these meet and greets and the rest of it, I find it utterly obscene. You know, Killing Joke goes out of its way, wherever possible, and when we're doing our own tours, to put tickets out at an affordable price wherever we can. We really do take pride in that, you know. A lot of the people that put food into our stomachs, and well, I know many of them personally, I make it my business to know, you know, when we tour, I'm known for walking up and down the queues outside, shaking hands with people. You know, I don't believe in hero worship or any of, you're missing the point if you have heroes or rock stars, because the point is you should be looking at yourself. Most people standing in a queue outside of a band, they can do better themselves, actually. The fact that they're looking at a hero is mistaken from our perspective in Killing Joke. Killing Joke to us is like a big mirror. That's why we've got so many musical children out there. They see these four assholes on stage and they think, well, if they can do that, anyone can do anything, you know. And the funny thing is we come up with a unique sound in Killing Joke, and we don't really analyse how the hell we get there. We don't plan anything. We just keep going. And being in a band with your best friends is for 41 years is, and of course, even when members have left the band, they're still in the family in our band, you know. And so it's a very close-knit band, and you can see that by the way that there's not a single. The only biography out there or information on the inner workings of Killing Joke is what I give. There aren't any others. I've neutralised them all. Yeah.
Nice. You predict the future by controlling it, right?
Well, we all must. You see, we all must. We're getting the wrong idea about what the arts are and the importance for all of us with the arts. Let's just go through it a second. A labourer is a man or woman who works with their hands. A craftsman is a man or woman who works with their head and their hands. But an artist is the man or woman who works with their heart, their head and their hands. So for a start, you can apply art to everything, every station in life and everything you're doing in life, you know. And the thing is, if you look at state education these days, the arts don't really play a significant role, and that's generally because, well, the misled powers that be see the arts as a potential hotbed for dissent. You see, and the fact is, we need the arts to beautify this ugly world. More than ever. And I mean, there's different kinds of art. Killing Joke is, for example, a social function. It stops me from becoming a criminal. It's a healthy surrogate for the aggressive war impulse in myself. So there's different types of art. And then, but when I work with symphony orchestra, what I'm trying to do is create a more desirable reality. And we need this more than ever. It was Lawrence Durrell, who's the brother of the naturalist Gerald Durrell, who said, when the mob becomes the artist, we will have entered the golden age. And you see, I believe in this very much, you see, because you see, I believe in the innate genius in every human being, no one exempt. And life is the location of the genius inside you. And Killing Joke has been our university, and if there is any legacy of Killing Joke, it's one of the importance of self-educating. You see, because I mean, I left school with no exams but 4 criminal offences. Okay, and it could have gone the other way, and I say this over and over again, but I repeat it again. And so Killing Joke has been our invisible college, where we kind of self-educated and we became whoever we wanted to be. Punk was the vehicle that gave an individual no fear of failure and that sort of have a go attitude that enabled me to become a priest, an architect, an actor, a conductor, a composer, and many other things. You see, and nothing. I let nothing limit me. There are no impossibilities. Everything is possible. You have to use visualization, and this is what works for me. It's magic, essentially. Our band started with magic. On this new record, Magnet Invocatio, on the 3rd movement. There's when the choir comes in Latin, this is the vow that Big Paul and myself took when I was 18 and he was 19, that we would do Killing Joke and we'd see it through all the way. And then to be here now talking to you 41 years later, and suddenly the music of Killing Joke has become the official music for the United Nations, which is, how could this be?
Right.
But when we leave here today, we're going to the UN, and it's real. This is happening. I mean, the impossible has happened. You see, my life, it's a long journey from squats and this kind of thing to working for the United Nations, and all the incredible things that have happened to me. Killing Joke is a bigger knighthood than a knighthood, and I know because I've got one. It opens doors everywhere to be in this band, and we have a mysterious beginning as a band, which people don't know. The band started in a house full of psychologists and psychiatrists who were working for the Tavistock Institute, which is behaviour control, and the Tavistock Institute of Human Behaviour. Yes, it's this behaviour modification and stuff like this, And through one of the individuals we met there, we got the name Killing Joke, and he told us about the coming synarchy. I call it a synarchy, where we move away from democracy and corporations will play a greater role. And so he told us this in 1978. And then since then, of course, it's been a journey where in Kilimanjaro we've met everybody from Timothy Leary to R.D. Lang and other people along the way. And when you look at our counterculture from the 60s onwards, you realise, of course, it was manufactured. And this is a fact. I won't go too much into that, but one of the interesting conversations we've had on the bus recently, this is the wonderful thing about being with a band that's well read, is there's a song called Nature Boy, a single, but the thing is, the true counterculture that we inherit today doesn't come from the Learys and the government, spook-sponsored area, but it comes from conscientious objectors from the First World War, who would call themselves the nature boys, right? And we take our lineage of counterculture from this. Of course, counterculture is pretty much mainstream culture these days, so it's no longer counterculture in a funny way, I mean, when you look at an institution like the United Nations, there's so many bad and good people there, but very good people there too, It's like any institution there.
Right.
So we're at this stage in our career now where we have to assist in bringing about planetary consciousness. Things are much more dangerous now than the Cold War when we started our career. I urge everybody to listen to the recent BBC interview on Hard Talk with Mikhail Gorbachev to find sort of a good perspective on this. I mean, he's the guy who brought peace to the world with Ronnie Reagan. His perspective is illuminating. But basically, we're in a much more precarious situation than the Cold War. The doomsday clock is closer to midnight now than in 1962 in the Cuban Missile Crisis. And yet no one seems to be aware of this because everybody's in their virtual worlds and with too many options. Anyway, the thing is, there's no hotlines between Tel Aviv and places like Tehran, and the world's become a more fragmented place with nuclear weapons. I mean, just one of these nuclear weapons. Say we drop one nuclear weapon on London, that weapon will take out Madrid, Paris, and Reykjavik, and every other city in a 650-mile radius. All right. Mm. So, we're really at a dangerous time when, I really hate to say it, that there's a terrible reality that one of these things might go off and lead to something else. We are, by the day, increasing the chances of unforeseen consequences, by nation states with nuclear weapons. Now somehow we have to get rid of these weapons globally, and the only way we can do this is by agreeing on some form of global governance. And at the moment there's a war between two models. One is polycentric and the other is unicentric. And there we have what's happening. Apart from that, we're living in a sixth extinction period. So we have options that we can either change the human digestive system with transhumanism, or the other alternative is to increase the bioorganisms that create all life, increase them, have a program to do this. But then, you see, we have neo-Prometheans, I call them, neo-Prometheans, which is the biotech industry, who kind of, some of these crazies, they think that, it doesn't matter if there's a nuclear war, because whatever slush there is on the surface left, we'll put it through a 3D computer imaging and create the world in our image. We'll have, forests devoid of birds and bees. But whether this will manifest I think is unlikely. I mean, it was Einstein who said mankind will survive 4 years after the bee becomes extinct. Look what's happening to the bees. Where are we? You see, there are no bees in China. They have to do all pollination by hand. You see, and my opinion is we're living in a Wi-Fi soup, and you know, I've got hives, and my opinion is and especially when we move up to 5G, I mean, God knows what's going to happen to us, and God knows what's going to happen to the bees. You see, I mean, we're looking at, well, potential extinction, but I don't. It's difficult to explain to people where we are, because you see, we are the last of our species, sapien sapien, and we're morphing into a new species, and we have to, because of the changes that are happening around us. You see, there's no real other option. It's a bit like if we want to go into outer space, we're going to have to redesign the human body. The bottom line with all of this is, you see, is there's no checks and balances with the biotech industry or transhumanism. We have the promise of downloading our consciousness into laboratory-reared bodies and downloading, you know, IQs of 650 plus and life extension programs. But of course, we all know this won't be available to everybody. This is barely the 1%, isn't it, that we're looking at? If we look at how things are going now. And so it is, as one eminent scholar said in the London School of Economics, we will have in the future 2 visibly different species. There will be those who have access to transhumanism, and then there will be the e-workers, ugly, squat, dwarf worker bees with shortened lifespans. And of course the possibility is there with transhumanism, with some of these creepy crawlies. They're talking about that you know, that a worker class, should they have pleasure or memory? You know, and that's why we need a philosophical elect guardians of the moral and ethical developments of Homo sapiens, his augmentation into Homo universalis, the next state of being, which is happening as we speak. You know, it's happening inside us. You know.
I feel like a lot of this is reminding me of, I know it's predicted by you 25 years ago on Pandemonium, a lot of these ideas.
Yeah.
You were talking about this a quarter of a century ago, and here we are, no better off, and maybe certainly worse off.
Exactly as I said before, I don't change my outlook on the way things are developing. That being said, we're in a dark mode now, but I know that it will lead in the end to a global awakening.
Or unrest in a terrible way, like a real global movement of some kind.
Well, here's the thing. If it is, as the physicists say, with the many worlds, that we are all participants in creating our own reality. And the magicians, they say, magic is to create change in accordance with the will. Same thing. If it is as this, then the first thing we have to do away with is the apocalyptic cults of Judaism, Christianity and Islam. Because when you focus the consciousness of so many people on the idea of apocalypse, well, that's what you'll be invoking. And so what I've tried to do in a small way with Magna Invocatio is create a work that lifts people to a different place. When you put the work on, you're meant to listen to it from the beginning right the way through to the end, and that's quite a long time. I mean, that's like 1 hour 25 minutes or so. So the idea is it's a feast of the gods. You see, I discovered that every time I listened to Killing Joke while I was eating, it gave me indigestion. So I thought, well, if we could do a symphonic version, the idea is that, you know, as you serve your guests the appetizer, the music's still playing right up until when, you know, coffee comes after dessert and you're either spliffing up or you're having a cigar or whatever your thing is, you know, and the music's still playing and then comes to a glorious ending. So it has a secular function. And then the idea is to lift everybody to a more desirable reality where we can visualize how it could be, you know. And so this is the function of Magna Invocatio. And then of course you see what happened with this project was it was set up by a really dodgy manager who's now fired, but it wasn't well thought through, and he went for crowdfunding with Pledge, and of course, well, during the process, Pledge went under, and it was a badly managed thing. By that I mean that there was no preliminary budget done. If there had been, it would have showed that the crowdfunding would have only got a third of the budget at best anyway. So essentially what I had was a manager that hated me, and he tried to set me up to fail. He also banned me from using Killing Joke's Facebook, the same manager. Okay, I could go on, but I won't. So there I found myself in a situation, and you know what? The minute I had the vision to put the Great Invocation, which is the official text of the United Nations, which I've loved for over 4 decades as an individual, to translate this into Latin and then rearrange Killing Joke's music. But as soon as I made this decision, I had the first dream in 25 years, an incredible dream. And 2 days after that, I had all the money I needed to record the whole thing. It was just incredible. And you know, that happened to me before with Killing Joke. Back in 1990, 89, 90, I said to the rest of the guys, when Martin Atkins was with the band actually, and Raven, I said, why don't we just go to Egypt and do, or Beirut, and do like a 4-track EP with local musicians, and we'll put it out, it'd be cool, and we can document it. And the rest of the guys said, oh, no, whatever. Well, I'll tell you something. 1 month later, I had $500,000 to do the same thing on my own. Napoleon said, beware of the man who dreams with his eyes open. And that's what I do, is I daydream. Right? What I do is I visualize myself in whatever scenario. And I visualize it, and I put it in a pink bowl and let it float to heaven. And then I tell you something, it becomes my reality.
Awesome. I will say I'm super pumped about this Magna Carta record. It's a few weeks out, so this podcast interview will run.
Magna Invocatio.
Right, Invocatio, yeah. Right.
And the reason...
Thank you.
I wanted to create something, so wherever I was, if I was on a metro with my headphones, I could instantly connect to the divine hierarchy. I could connect straight away in a matter of seconds. I wanted a piece of music that could do this. And this is what I've tried to do from the beginning to the end, and at the end, of course, I've dared to orchestrate what world peace sounds like, and it's brought together the two sides of my life. This record, because for those people who don't know about my life, I have 2 existences. So singing Killing Joke. But then, and that's the collective side of my musical existence. And then, when I'm not doing that, I conduct and compose for symphony orchestras around the world, and I've been doing that for a very long time. And on this record, the two sides of my existence come together. I will also point out that I was very successful with classical music when I was 13. Like this is my first love is classical music, really, you know. And to be able to score Killing Joke, and here's the thing: it's before the record's out, the seventh movement is linked with an incredible movie already before the record's out.
Okay.
A revolutionary movie documentary, I have to say. Yeah, it's a very exciting time. While I've been on tour, you know, I became a grandfather, and you know, that's amazing for me, and it makes me think more about the world and my mission. You know, Geordie, the guitarist from Killing Joke, he's last year. He's 3 years older than me. He had a baby last year, so his new baby is 1 year different to my grandchild. You know, but the bottom line is that here is the world, and wow, the things that have happened on this planet since the last World War, and I have to think about it because I mean I was born 15 years after the last World War. If we think back to when the first atomic tests were happening with the Manhattan Project, you know, and then of course 2 or 3 years later we have people like Kenneth Arnold and even President Jimmy Carter having these wacko UFO experiences. Yeah. Well, anyway, we live in strange times. Whether the world or people in the world are ready for the next big change is debatable. You know, imagine if the big if. I mean, I believe the RAND organisation did a study in the 60s on the possible ramifications of discovering extraterrestrial life or evidence of this, of a more advanced civilization, the ramifications on Earth life, what this would be. And, you know, I think it would be more dramatic than this. I mean, imagine a scenario if you find that all Earth knowledge, or history, theology, science, all our Earth knowledge is tragically flawed. What would happen collectively to societies? We go into a form of sort of collective depression. So, I'm very, as an individual, very cautious of sudden changes or revelations. I don't think it would be so straightforward. And the world's in a transformative stage at the moment. Somehow, I mean, look, America was always tasked with the unenviable job of somehow uniting the world in freedom. This was its holy task, I believe. And the thing is, it's a bit bumpy at the moment.
That it is. You know, this has been an education and in its own way, a revelation of an interview. Jazz Coleman, it's been an honor. Thank you, sir.
The pleasure's all mine. I'd like to say all those wonderful people who've allowed their Killing Jokes became the soundtrack of their existence as well as ours. And we're always mindful of the fact that you put food into our stomachs. And after this experience with playing in arenas, I'm very proud to say that our tradition of inviting the gatherers to the sound check without charging them any money, where we can meet all our friends, that I will continue this so long as I live.
We will take you back to the people.
And our open
Thank you.
dressing room policy.
All right.
Most people are too frightened to come in our dressing room anyway.
I would love to. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.